making this early video because it just dawned on me that it's been about almost 6 months since I filed my VA compensation claim. Almost 6 months. Keep in mind this is the second one because I believe the first one, when I filed it, somebody had me on a simulator because I looked one day and it was just gone. Either that or somebody at the intake center deleted it, which that would be a federal crime. And unpatriotic, and actions like that are a threat to national security. But it's been almost 6 months. When it was filed, it was like October, November. I think somewhere around there, but like I said, in Saginaw County, there so many people are being simulated, and so many places have simulator. It's hard to keep track what you put where. I was a witness to at least one simulator being buried when I lived at Countryway. I saw a simulator getting buried outside of somebody's apartment. It's not really big. It was a box probably the size of probably about the size of a large suitcase. You know, one of those large suitcases, not the giant ones, but a large suitcase that one person would take as a carry-on. A little bit larger than that. Actually, one that's one step bigger than the one that you would carry as a carry-on. And I watched them bury it. USCIC, they were the ones that came and dug it and buried it. I don't know the reasoning why. Some places, if they have people who are convicted of certain crime or certain registration requirements, they have to, have their internet monitored, or they can't have access at all, or they are allowed like one computer or something, and it's monitored. Or if it's a criminal enterprise, they do that to hide people. That way people don't screw up by jumping on the web and doing something. Everything will go through a simulator, and it'll be cleaned up, changed, maybe even an IP, using a referent IP, like in a totally different country or something. All kinds of clever stuff they can do. But this is military technology to protect our people overseas. The State Department, DSS, Defense Security Service, and DOD. But in this part of Michigan, they are using government and military technologies. I don't know if these people are vets or just criminal hackers or both. But anyway, I saw that get buried when I lived there. And possibly one other location, but I'm not 100% sure. But so we'll leave that out. But anyway, so that's the only thing I can think of is that original VA compensation claim from 2 years ago. It was put on a simulator, which explains why all I received was some really sketchy letter from the intake center, which was sketchy, looked like a photocopy. And the DBQ, the exam for headaches, explained, the reason why I was called by somebody claiming to be from the VA to make an appointment to do the DBQ, when I said that I never asked for a VA. And generally you're given the option. The way the system works, you can go to a VA if you want, but it's better to go to a third party, because the VA can tank you And then you have to get an expert opinion to counteract the VA. So, if people are doing their DBQs at the VA, I would be very cautious, especially if you're going to the Saginaw VA, because there's some very malicious people who work there. And I thought it was odd. I said, "Why are you calling me to make an appointment?" They said, "Oh, because you received a letter to come in for a DBQ." I said, "No, I didn't. The last letter I received was apologizing for the delay in processing of my claim." And then it said, "Thank you for your service." And they're like, "Well, you got to come in." But then come to find out later, a week ago, I received the letter that they were going to make an appointment for me to come in to this VA by the 24th, which is today. So that's the letter that somebody intercepted, the one that was opened that I thought was sketchy. I should say the most recent one. It's not like that's the first time that people have tampered with my VA or Social Security paperwork, or appointments for that matter, but explains a lot. But so we're going on 5 or 6 months. I don't even know what medical records they pulled. I found that some of my medical records have disappeared. At least 1 or 2 hospitals, I kid you not, the records have freaking disappeared. I have several ER visits that have disappeared from 2 hospitals. And then one most recently was for a serious, very serious abdominal issue. Actually, a couple of them. It's disappeared. And I've been looking through my files, and some of my issues, some of my elevated enzymes have been there for quite a while. I just assumed that my medical providers are paying attention, but they've been there for about 5 or 6 years. Some of these elevated enzymes and other enzymes extremely low, and some of my blood plasma values, very low, barely in range. Nobody's paying attention, and I just assumed, it wasn't until probably 3 or 4 years ago that I realized that I'm not getting good medical care, and that's when people started retaliating. I just assumed up until then people were doing their job, but they weren't. Even the VA. And some of these issues that could possibly be rheumatoid, they've been with me for quite a while. Ever since I came back to the U.S. in 2014. I'm looking back at some of the values from different diagnostic tests, and some of this stuff is going back all the way to 14. It explains it, though. My immune system is weaker here because I'm allergic to many things here. But now when I'm in the desert, the only thing that make me sick is a sandstorm. And, I wear masks and gaiter and stuff like that, so it generally protects me, especially when I'm not smoking. And when I'm in someplace in the Pacific Rim, I'm not allergic to anything there either. There's nothing. The more Southeast Asia that I go, or even, up through Hong Kong, there's nothing I'm allergic to. But, so it explains why my immunity is stronger. But 6 months. That stuff is just dragged on. And still tried to, make it look like everything is my liver, uh, like I'm an alcoholic or something. I'm so sick of it. Non-alcoholic steatitis, steat, steatitis. Yeah, I think that's a medical term. Which we seem to have some disagreement between ultrasound and a couple of CAT scans regarding my liver. There seems to be a contradiction. Because I've said the past year and a half that it's rheumatoid, but they won't listen to me. So I created a 200-pound portfolio with all my medical issues and then relevant occurrences in rheumatoid arthritis studies. I just got to copy it all and then serve them. But yeah, my medical care for the past several years, at least the past 5 or 6 years, people ignore everything. But yeah, some people didn't even notice that there's more than one lesion on my kidney. But I offer complete submission to God's will. But yeah, what about my children? My oldest is graduating now. And somebody's still trying to interfere in our communication, pretending that they're her. They don't realize I know my daughter. She looks a lot like her mom. You can see her mom in her skull, in her nose, her forehead, her cheeks. She has my chin. She has my eyes, although they're brown, but she has my eyes, my ears, my brain. She's a lot similar to her dad. And to her younger sister, her baby sister. But when you're battling with the VA and people keep ruining your chance to earn an income, what do? People, sabotage everything, especially simulating you. When I called those 2 parishes, did I really even get the parish? Simulate everything, especially to target me and the amount of investment in various agencies or organizations or clinics or businesses that did stuff to my daughter and I. That kind of money, I still point the finger at Constellus and their former and present employees, many for what's happened to my daughter and I. Just to try to get revenge. Try to make it, they're clever, try to make it look like anything except what it is. Try to make it look like any movement, or make it look like, some kind of, private investigator. I mean, anything they can to make it look like not what it is. But then again, they just assume that I'm just some force protection officer that sits in an office, sits at a gate, or sits inside of a tower. I don't have any analytical skills. I don't have any investigation skills. I don't have a fairly good memory, and I can't think things through and do a whiteboard. Apparently, that's what they think of me, a very low opinion. God gives me gifts. These are not mine. They're His. Oh, glory be to Him. But it's pretty obvious. This kind of retaliation, this kind of funding, and then I can't forget what happened in 2014. That encounter in that hotel with that guy, and then finding out that the company went employee owned, but they didn't want me involved. So I don't know why they chose Michigan. That's the craziest thing of all. Because as far as I know, at least in theater, there was only a couple of us from Michigan. A couple of us. One of us owns a big roofing and road company, and the other one is a farmer, way up north. I mean, he's a rarity. He lives way up north, city-born African American who decided to go rural and become a farmer. And, he's a genius with repairing anything mechanical. But that's the only two I know of that were from Michigan. And, he lives way up there, in Amish and Mennonite country up in the UP. Well, not UP, lower UP. But, that's all I know of. Two of us, so I don't know how the company ended up here. But can't answer that. But they had a lot of contracts in 2014. And now the company has such a large portfolio. I think it's around 2 or 3 billion. They're the modern day Halliburton. And they know some very powerful people. Some of those people are very, very wealthy billionaires in Michigan. So, that could be why. As simple as that. Yeah, we got a billionaire friend in Michigan, friends with governors and former presidents. So we're going to locate to Michigan. Could be that simple. And some of the investors in the defense world, there's several companies that are defense contractors that are also in Michigan. It's not just Northern Virginia that's a power broker in the defense world. There's quite a bit in Michigan too. But it could be that simple. And so they target me and my family. Investing can be a pretty powerful tool. Yeah, don't take police reports for this guy. We'll give you a new truck. Yeah, it'll come directly from the dealership. Don't worry about it. You'll get a very, very generous lease. Could be as simple as that. Or you need some new comms equipment. Can easily be arranged. We have a subsidiary that provides it for our intelligence and investigation facility in an Arab country. Yeah, we can get that stuff easily. So that's pretty obvious. But I believe in the sovereignty of God. And I believe that a true patriot, in the end, a true patriot, even if something happens to them, a true patriot, they will remain. Their story will remain. Because true patriots don't care about money. They don't care about rich stuff. They don't care about who's the power broker in Washington. They only care about their country. And I know there's patriots out there who are like me, who are not impressed by somebody's giant limo or their giant, 2,000 acre uh, um, compound that they and their family live. They're not impressed about a company that could buy a whole woods for training. They're only impressed by people who dedicate their service, lay their life on the line for their country, their community, and for those values we hold dear. That's the power of America. We may be getting away from that, but that's the power of America. And in the end, those people, they will look at Washington and they'll say, oh, unkept promises. Oh, yeah, I was really behind you for a while, but now I'm seeing the direction we're going, and I'm seeing things happening to my fellow patriots, my fellow veterans, my fellow families in the different neighborhoods where I go and live and work and play. And I'm seeing things not so great. So those of you in Washington who I thought were allies, you're not mine. People like that, you learn as a veteran, you got to roll every 4 years. It may be the party you like, it may not be. But regardless, you're going to have to roll a little bit. Got to roll a 360 or a 180, just depends. But and then they may keep you rolling in the 360 continually for 4 years. But it's only 4 years, maximum 8. But it's ridiculous that a VA case would go this long and that, a veteran would be treated like this. But I'm not alone. There's other vets. I'm just the one that's speaking up. Speaking up for my daughters. Because the things that have happened to my family should happen to no veteran. And certainly we shouldn't lose a veteran because of negligence or especially because of the 22 a day. It's a shame on this nation. It is shameful. God is sovereign. We just have to be patient and he'll move his hand. He'll move his hand and he'll heal the country and he'll punish those who are wicked and unrepentant and those who don't care about the values of our country and don't care about the human dignity of a single person.